Hello there, how's it going? My name's Adam. I am currently cycling around the world and I'm making this video to just add a bit more detail to a previous video I made, which was about how much I spend and how I afford to cycle on the road. That video lacked detail. I did it whilst I was cycling. So I just sat down, crunched some numbers, and the purpose of this video is to really just give you an insight into what it's costing me to cycle around the world. But to give you a little bit of background, I spent 7 months the last 7 months cycling with another person through Southeast Asia. So with my former partner, we cycled from Singapore through Malaysia, Thailand, Laos, China, Vietnam, Cambodia. I flew to Korea then by myself, and then cycled through Korea, Japan, Alaska. I'm now in Canada. So yeah, these stats are very varied. It's very difficult to say this is what it will cost because it depends on if you're going to be cycling around the world, where you sleep, the countries you're in, what your food standards are like, how much you cook, how much you camp. So this is just to give you an insight into the way I've done it and how the costs have changed when I'm cycling with somebody to when I'm by myself to now. So I'm going to start up front with how much I have spent in different categories. I think breaking it down into categories is important. So I've broken it down into these following categories. So accommodation, where you're paying to sleep. Daily expenses, bike maintenance, healthcare, visas, and transport. Transport would mean flights, and it would also mean internal inner city transport, like if you get a bus or train. Daily expenses is the most vague one, I think. Daily expenses means paying for your food. That's the main expense, but it also would mean any touristy things I do, paying to go into temples, for example, waterfalls, national park costs, ATM fees, just generic stuff that doesn't fit very well into any other category goes in daily expenses. So that's why this will make sense. So I'm going to give you just how much I've spent in the last year. So I've now been on the road a year. I think it's quite a good time to be able to look back. So in accommodation, I have spent £926.65. All of this is all in British sterling. That's what my money's sat in, which isn't good with Brexit coming up, is it? But what can I do? So I've got a load of, £926.65 on accommodation. Now, that is for a whole year of paying to sleep. That is broken down, and I'm going to show you some graphs now, and this will hopefully paint a picture on how I've kept that cost to that amount. I have paid for 188 days so far, and I've been free sleeping, so that will mean hosted and camping, wild camping, for 173 days. So right now is day 361 on the journey, so it's almost exactly a year. So those numbers should add up to a year. Yeah, so these graphs, I'll show them these graphs now. These are my percentages of where I have slept. Let me just talk through the graphs. So as you can see, hotel, guest house, 47% of my sleeping is there. Free camping, 28%. Hosted warm showers, 19.4%. Paid camping, 3.6%, not done that much. And then I've got flight, boat, vehicle. There's been a few times I've flown overnight, or when I've just been driving up to the Arctic Circle in a car and didn't have to pay for anything. So they're free as well. But they're not free, because usually you pay for the transport, so I don't know what I've put them under. 926. I'll keep adding these up in a tally. So daily expenses is £2,603.57 is what I've spent. Food and all the other stuff I described earlier. Bike maintenance, £894.89 so far. That includes changing my handlebars, which wasn't maintenance as such, but I'm including that. Includes disc brake changes as that happens. I changed my cassette, two rear wheel rims, spare spokes, truing the wheels, which has happened a couple of times. I'm on my third set of tyres. Inner tubes, repair, puncture kits, the other chain lube, stuff like that. So that's all that. Healthcare, £28.65. That's very low. That's lucky. I've not been ill. Visas. Now, this is a high number of £527.15. However, £243.28, so nearly over half of that, is one visa which I've paid for, which I might not even use. It's my Australian working holiday visa for 12 months. I'm 30, paid for that because when I'm 31 I can no longer apply, and that's coming up in a few months. So I thought, apply for it. If my money runs out, Australia we come. Transport, £1,617.36. That includes all my flights that I've got so far. That's to Korea, from Japan, the boat from Korea to Japan, Thailand to Korea, and then the flight, I'm jumping about a bit, but the flight from Japan to Alaska. That's it. That's pretty much. And then there'll be the odd buses and trains that I've got. Don't think I've got taxis. Well, maybe odd taxi in Bangkok that I got back of a grab. So, total spent so far is £6,598 in the last year. So that's a year of cycling, flying between continents. I've spent £6,500 in a year. I have remaining, this is a figure that will tell you that I'd have less than a year left on the road if I spend the same rate, is £4,431. Now, something that does affect all this is I do make some money. That's only happened in the last few months. I've got some detailed stats here which I'm going to tell you, so I think it's interesting for you to know what I make. And for you guys that are supporting me, you will see where your money goes. All my income so far this year is £1,106. So if you think about my previous job, where I used to be, I used to have a normal job with a salary, making £1,000 in a year doesn't sound like an awful lot, but it is a massive deal to me. It makes a huge difference, and that will allow me to keep travelling now, hopefully, because the money's slowly increasing. So my Patreon has increased it's almost increased by $60 every month. And I'm currently at $260 is what I made last month, but in total on Patreon I've made 540 quid. YouTube, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you what I've earned on YouTube, but I think it's against their terms of service. But total I've made since I got monetized is less than £300. I'll just say that. It's not a great deal. PayPal, I've got some PayPal donations of random people that are not either connected and don't want to set a recurring payment, but just want to help out and just be part of this journey, and it makes a massive difference. Those guys have given me £316 so far, which is always unknown. You don't know when you're going to get it, but it's just amazing. So yeah, that is my total income and total expenditure. One thing I think will be interesting for you is if I tell you how much I've spent per day on average in different countries. So I'm going to start with my first country I went to, Singapore, £17 per day, expensive country, there for 4 days, bit skewed. Malaysia, £12 a day, was there for just under a month. Thailand, £10.50 a day, and that is the whole of Thailand for like 2.5 months. Laos, £12 per day. That's a bit expensive, that number. I think I stayed in a hotel for the last 3 days in Laos in that run. It was only a short time in Laos. China, £11.50 per day. That was 2 full months in China. Vietnam, £10.50, 2 weeks in Vietnam. Laos for the second time, where I spent a month almost in Laos, £7.13 per day. So massively different to that, nearly half. Korea, £9.66 per day. Japan, £10.33 per day. Alaska, £9.53 per day. So as you can see, that number is higher than what I'm aiming to spend, which is really, if I want to continue looking to the future now for the next 18 months, and all I can really be certain of is the money I already have. So let's say I only have £4,400 now to travel. If I want to cycle for the next 18 months, which is probably what it'll take me to get down to the bottom of Argentina, that will mean I can spend no more than £8.20 per day, which is $10.25. It's tough, that's cheaper than all my journey so far. The only time I've gone cheaper than that was cycling through Laos, Korea and Japan and Alaska was close to it, but that's because I'm camping a lot. I can't afford hotels and I just have to live on a low budget. Other expenses that I do occasionally have, there's things like website costs. I'm trying to think now, there's nothing else really I pay for. Don't have any rent to go out of a home. They sold my house. They didn't even have a house, so there's no selling of a house. Somebody wrote that in a comment. I assume you sold your house. I never owned a house. I was in the military. I had a military house provided by them. So I've got no secret stash or pot. Once this money's up, it's up. I'm going to go and get a job and work, whatever that may be. So yeah, it's just to give you an insight into that's what it costs me to travel. Yeah, I hope you get a bit of value from all these numbers and stats. Brilliant. If you could subscribe to the channel, that'd be cool. And yeah, thank you for watching. I will see you next video. If you've got any other ideas, a video similar to this behind the scenes, it'd be super cool to hear what your ideas are. And yeah, I'm more than happy to make these videos to add value to you guys. Thank you. Enjoy. Farewell.